What do people need to know specifically about 2020? And what are some good tips that you can give them as returns start to be accepted?
Well, as you stated, returns will start being accepted by the IRS on February the 12th, and the deadline is April the 15th. Um, my best advice is to make sure that you're wise in choosing your tax preparer. There's a lot of tax fraud out there, and a lot of fraudulent preparers who take advantage of the layman tax payer and exploit them for whatever they can get from them.
When you say fraudulent and being careful, what do you mean? How can people mess up your tax returns, and what do they get in return for that? Are they schemers? Are they scammers? Or are they just kind of incompetent?
Well, there are some preparers out there who legitimately make mistakes. Those people, if it comes across our radar, we'll check it, have a conversation with them, and they'll acknowledge their mistakes, and they'll get with the taxpayer, and they'll fix it and move on. But we all know whenever there's an opportunity, an opportunist will take advantage of that. So, with that said, and this year in preparing returns, you do have some people who do unfortunately take advantage of that and do it for the means of doing it for financial means and gains.
So, what should people look for when they're choosing a tax preparer to make sure that they're choosing somebody who is trustworthy and is going to get the job done correctly for them so they don't get penalized?
Well, when choosing a tax preparer, it's probably one of the most important financial decisions you will make. We really don't think of it like that, but you have, like you said, there are some fraudulent preparers out there, and you should definitely talk to family and friends, ask them, for recommendations. You should look for a preparer who you can access and have office hours, so to speak, all year long. You shouldn't just go to, if those preparers are just open during tax season, they pack up, you drive past there the day after the filing season is over, and it looks like a vacant building. Avoid those type of preparers, because if any questions arise through the year, you want to be able to get back to your tax preparer and ask them for advice or to seek their advice. You should never sign a blank return. So if someone presents a return in front of you and say, "Oh, sign it," I'll get to it later and fill it out, and this has none of your information on there, you should definitely be conscious and weary and leery of that. You should also never have your tax refund deposited into any other bank account except for yours. So if a preparer says, you don't need, I don't need your banking information, I can just use my account and have your refund go into my account, you should definitely be aware of that. And excuse me, uh, you should also avoid any preparer who says that they can guarantee you a refund or they can get you a higher refund. If I give your tax information, or if you give your tax documents for 2020 to four legitimate return preparers, it's going to be prepared the same every time. And so there's no one who can do some magical computations to guarantee you a higher refund than you would normally get. You should just be aware of that and just leave and go look for another preparer.
I think a lot of people also like to do their taxes, at least I do, using apps, and you kind of just take pictures of your proper documents and they do it for you. Is there anything you should look out for as far as making sure you're choosing the correct app if you're not dealing one on one with a tax preparer or an accountant?
Yes, there are some legitimate tax firms who do have apps like H&R Block, possibly, or there are different software providers like Tax Act or something like that that you can go through to prepare your return on an app. But you should always look for a legitimate return preparer. Again, a return company. If it's on an app, you want to make sure, do your due diligence and check and make sure that return preparer also have a brick and mortar building that you can go to if you have any questions. And you should also make sure that it's not a phishing scheme, or because there are phishing schemes out there where we have uh, people who propose like they're legitimate apps or who claim to be legitimate apps, and then they just get your tax information and take it and never file your actual return, but prepare a fraudulent return and file, change your banking information, get the deposit into their refund. I mean, into their account. Get the refund into their deposited into their bank account, and you're on the hook for it. So definitely, you want to make sure that it's a legitimate app, it's a legitimate company who is sponsoring that app, and that you can have access to them if it requires you to follow up.
Now, you guys also are warning for people to file accurate tax returns. What are some big mistakes or even small mistakes that people are making that you guys have seen, and people can try to avoid that to make sure they are filing the most accurate return, especially this year, because I know things are a little bit different.
Yes. Again, there are mistakes that are made, legitimate mistakes. Again, that's nothing criminal or fraudulent. You make a mistake, you correct it, and once you are aware of it, then you move on. But then there are those, those people who will prepare your return inaccurately. Some of the fraudulent things that can go into your return, for example, return preparer in the Columbus area was preparing fraudulent returns. Her name is Kiana Matthews, and she's ran a tax firm called GQ Tax Processing LLC. And she prepared returns using fraudulent Schedule Cs, putting like people who had businesses on there and giving them a huge deduction, which in turn qualified them for the earned income credit that they would not otherwise be qualified for. And that generated a fraudulent or a false refund. And so, of course, she got caught. We caught her, and she's now facing 72 months in prison for the scheme that she was perpetrating on her clients.
Uh, yeah, you definitely want to avoid that. That is a lot of time to be behind bars. But again, that's such a kind of extreme case. I think a lot of people are wondering. I'm not sure if you're able to answer the question on this about their stimulus checks. What do they need to know about their taxes and their stimulus check, and how is that going to work out this year when they file their taxes?
Unfortunately, that is more for our civil counterparts with
Okay.
criminal, but someone can always go to irs.gov and check on the status of their stimulus check, and get all the details and the possible scams out there, and get any details on how they can how when they should be receiving their checks and in what form. So all that is on the website.
Okay, perfect. Brian, is there anything else that we should know before you let you go? Anything I didn't ask that people should know?
Yes, just make sure that when you complete your return and sign it, that is accurate to the best of your ability. Because once you put your signature on that return and it is transmitted to the IRS, it's your responsibility. So it's because you sign that, once you sign that tax return, you're attesting that everything on that tax return is accurate. So just make sure that you're before you sign it, that someone go over it with you, whoever prepared it, and that is accurate to the best of your ability.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. So 1 week out, you guys are going to be start accepting the returns. When do you think the earliest people should be getting refunds is?
Again, that would depend on how many returns they get, how how you receiving your refund. If you're receiving it through mail, of course, it's going to take longer. But all that information will be on irs.gov. If you go right on there, it will tell you the expected time you should receive your refund. if you're getting a deposit or if you're getting a refund check in the mail.